Hello, guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Vijeta, and we will be discussing the further chapters in our world literature series for UGC NET and other competitive exams. Now we have John Mandeville, whatever you want to pronounce. That's his picture, which I could get from the internet. Sir John Mandeville is the supposed author of The Travels of Sir John Mandeville, a travel memoir which first circulated between 1357 and 1371. The earliest surviving text is in French. In the prologue of the English version, the author calls himself John Mandeville or John Mandeville and gives an outline of his wide travels during 30 years. French travels of Sir Mandeville were translated by Jean de Bourgogne, or whatever is the right pronunciation, into English in 1377. That's more or less what we know about John Mandeville. He was a very early author, so not much is known. And his questions might be or might not be asked. Just take a look at him. Now we come to chapter 5, Thomas Occleve or Occleve. His timeline is between 1367 to 1426. Apart from Lydgate, he is also one of the most significant poets of 15th century. He was a clerk in the office of Privy Seal, and some of his poetry claims to describe the events of his own life, as in La Main Regle de Thomas Occleve. Maybe it's not the right pronunciation still. The prologue to the Regiment of Princes, 1411 to 1412, that's the timeline of the work, and in two poems from the late sequence known as Series in 1420, The Complaint and The Dialogue with a Friend. He also praises Chaucer in the Regiment of Princes. This is an important question. Occleve's poetry also included the translations from Christine de Pizan, the French poet. These are some significant details about Thomas Occleve. Now we come to John Lydgate, and his timeline is from 1370 to 1451. His position is a man of letters rather than as a major poet. Perhaps his greatness and fame lies ironically in his praise of Chaucer. Yeah. John Lydgate of Bury was a monk and poet born in Lydgate near Haverhill, Suffolk, England. Lydgate's poetic output is prodigious, amounting at a conservative count to about 145,000 lines. Yeah, he wrote quite a lot of lines in his time. His important works are The Complaint of the Black Knight. It is modeled on Chaucer's The Book of the Duchess. The Temple of Glass, indebted to the House of Fame. This is an important question. Reason and Sensuality, an allegory book. Troy book, a major contribution to the rendering of classical myth into English. It is in 30,000 lines. Translation of Guido del Colon, commissioned by Prince Henry V. The Story of Thebes, from 1420 to 1422. Fall of Prince in 1438. 30,000 lines on Monk's Tale. Yeah, these are some of his details. And just give it a read through. Now we come to chapter 7, which is Features of 15th Century Literature. Yeah, literature has been around for a long time. For the whole of Europe, it was a period of unrest. James I, King of Scotland in 1406, was captured by the English and detained for 18 years. Returning to Scotland in 1424, he ascended the throne of Scotland and once again began to avenge himself on the nobles who had kept him in retention. In 1437, he was murdered by a band of conspirators. Martin Luther was the hero of Reformation in Europe. It's an important question. Constantinople, the seat of Greek and Latin learning, fell under the attack of the Turks in 1453. This is also an important date to remember. Yeah. Now, the Greek Latin scholars fled the city, carrying the learning of Greece and Rome with them. The event led to the revival of learning in Europe, which established a new era in Europe. Constantinople was the capital of the Byzantine Empire. Hundred Years' War of France and Britain took place between 1338 to 1453. Again, an important point to be noted. The War of Roses, there was a distracting political conflict which culminated in a 30-year struggle for power between 1455 to 1485. Again, noted. The conflict was between House of York and House of Lancaster. This is also something that you should remember, the houses. The struggle is called the War of Roses, because the badge of Lancaster was red rose and the badge of York was white rose. This is also called the Civil War. In this war, many of the great models were killed, and the old creator of feudalism came to an end. In conclusion, it gave England the Tudor dynasty from Henry VII in 1485 to Queen Elizabeth 1603. The Jackgates Rebellion 1450. Jackgate, an Irishman, started a protest against maladministration in 1450. He led an insurrection of 15,000 men against London. The insurrection was surpassed by armed forces and he was slain. He is like Wat Tyler, the leader of the peasants' revolt in 1381. Again, an important question for NET. Every Man is a morality play by an anonymous writer and it appeared in 1510. Yeah. Printing. Now we come to printing. Printing is also an important feature of this era. William Caxton introduced printing in London in 1476. He translated, printed, and published a large number of books in the London dialect. Political condition at this time, England had to bear foreign and civil wars as well. Henry V, who succeeded Henry IV, gained success against France at the Battle of Agincourt in 1415 and became a national hero, but he died soon at the age of 35, leaving behind a 9-month-old baby as Henry VI, who was declared the King of England and France. Duke of Bedford became the regent in France, and Duke of Gloucester, I think it's called, in England, as Henry VI was a baby and not able to rule. Bedford had to encounter the rising nationalism in France, headed by a French peasant girl, Joan of Arc, who succeeded a triumph for French army. Joan of Arc is a well-known figure. A lot of stories about her, and even what is his name? Bernard Shaw. He has also written a play called Joan of Arc. And even there's a story, Remember the Roses, by Avery Taylor. It's a short story. It is also related to Joan of Arc. Quite an interesting figure. The English army, however, captured her and burned her as a witch at Reuben. The English rule came to an end in 1436, and French king took reins to their country. This period is also called Barren Period by W.H. Auden. Note it down. Ballet was the most familiar writing genre in the 15th century. I got this Joan of Arc illustration from Canva. Quite cute, I suppose. I mean, there were other sketches, but this animated version was more, I don't know, cuter, something like that. Anyways, James the First of Scotland ruled from 1394 to 1437, and he tells in his King's Square his love for the Lady Jane Beaufort, I'm not sure, the Duke of Somerset's daughter. William Dunbar's timeline is 1465 to 1530. Graceful allegorical poem, The Thistle and the Rose, written in 1503, is composed to commemorate the marriage of James IV of Scotland and Margaret, daughter of Henry VII of England. Yeah. The best known ballet of Dunbar is Dance of the Seven Deadly Sins. Quite a lot of things related to the seven deadly sins seems. Robert Burton's Anatomy of Melancholy in 1621, again an important question, and other cult of melancholy writers were writing books on humoral physiology during this period. After the fall of Constantinople in 1453, Renaissance in England started. During Renaissance period, poetry, drama, and sonnet were the important genre. Humanism and Reformation are the two important movements of the 15th century. Yes. The Castle of Perseverance is the earliest morality play written in the 15th century. Again, a very important question. Persepolia. It's a manuscript in mid 17th century handwriting which belonged to Humphrey Pitt of Shipnow, the most important source of our ballet literature and the basis of Francis Child's collection. His timeline is from 1825 to 1896. It was the source of ballads included in Thomas Percy's Reliques. These are some important things to be noted. It also contains the 14th century alliterative allegorical poem Death and Life, modelled on Piers the Plowman and Scottish Field. Percy Society. It was founded in 1840 by Thomas Crofton Crocker, Alexander Dyes, James Halliwell Phillips, John Payne Collier. The society was founded for the purpose of publishing Old English lyrics and ballads. It was named in honor of Thomas Percy. So, yeah, they founded a society to revive some of the old literature. That's all for the 15th century literature. Now we come to Thomas Malory. His timeline is from 1415 to 1471. A lot of these people died young actually because I think living conditions were not very good at that time. And most of them were heavy on drinking and other stuff. Anyways, Sir Thomas Malory was an English writer, the author or compiler of Le Morte d'Arthur, originally titled The Whole Book of King Arthur and His Noble Knights of the Round Table. Since the late 19th century, he has generally been identified as Sir Thomas Malory of Newbold Revell in Warwickshire. I hope you like these elements, graphics that I have used. I was able to do that because of Canva, and it was quite interesting to decorate my presentation like this. Makes it more interesting to read. William Wycherley's The Plain Dealer is based on Le Morte d'Arthur. That's an important question. Le Morte d'Arthur. It is a compilation of traditional tales about the legend King Arthur, Guinevere, Lancelot. I think it's Lancelot, and the Knights of the Round Table. I suppose it's Lancelot, I'm not sure. Just check it once. First published in 1485 by William Caxton. Again, an important date. Malory wrote about Arthur in 8 books, but Caxton converted it into 21 books. The books are Book 1 From the Marriage of King Arthur unto King Arthur that reigned after him and did many battles. Book 2 The Noble Tale between King Arthur and Lucius, the Emperor of Rome, not Lucius Malfoy. Book 3 The Noble Tale of Sir Launcelot du Lake. Book 4 The Tale of Sir Gareth of Orkney. Book 5 The Book of Sir Tristram de Lyons. Book 6 The Noble Tale of the Sangreal. Book 7 Sir Launcelot and Queen Guinevere. Book 8 The Death of Arthur. Sometimes they ask you the last book or the name. You have to match the name of the title with the book. So yeah, that is that. Chapter 9 William Caxton. His timeline is from 1422 to 1491. Yeah. William Caxton was an English merchant, diplomat, and writer. He is thought to be the first person to introduce a printing press into England in 1476, and as a printer was the first English retailer of printed books. During 1471 to 72 at Cologne, William Caxton learned the trade of printing. Yeah. Caxton and Collard Mansion set up a printing press at Bruges. William Caxton printed a total of about 100 different works. He translated 24 books, all of them except the one he printed. Yeah. In 1438, he became apprentice to a prominent London mercer, Dropwood Larch. In 1469, he entered the service of Margaret, Duchess of Burgundy, the sister of King Edward IV. Margaret asked him to complete an English translation of Raoul Lefèvre's History of Troy. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Thus, the first book printed in English was Caxton's translations of Lefèvre called The Recoil of the Histories of Troy from French to English. Yeah, this is an important question. Keep it in mind. Caxton printed Chaucer's translation of Boethius in 1479. Malory's Morte d'Arthur was issued from his press in 1485. Wynkyn de Worde became Caxton's successor on his death in 1491. For Caxton, Chaucer was the laureate poet. Yeah. The first English translation of Ovid's Metamorphoses was also the work of William Caxton. Caxton achieved the title of Governor of the English nation of merchant adventurers. The name of Caxton's printing press was the Red Penny. So I think I will take a break here, and I hope you liked the various graphics, the illustrations that have been used here. All of them have been included so as to make the learning experience more cheerful and bright. And I hope you liked it. And if there are any suggestions, the comment box is open. If you like the video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and we will meet in the next lecture, which will be starting from John Skelton, which will be chapter 10, of course. And thank you all. Okay.